So, it's my absolute honour to welcome some dear friends, actually, to the stage for the next two lightning talks. We have Chris Uttley, who is the Climate Change and Sustainability Manager for Stroud District Council, and is joined by Rebecca Charley, who is the lead for Biodiversity and Nature Recovery. Now, they're going to talk about how can we use culture to restore nature and tackle climate change, which is a conversation and a provocation that's actually very close to my heart. So I'm delighted to introduce you both. And after that, I'm going to actually just say, Pippa, will you jump up afterwards? Be lightning about it. And Pippa Jones, who is Director of Create Gloucestershire and has recently been awarded an MBE for her services to the arts. And Pippa, woo! And Pippa is going to talk about 6 simple rules for complex change. So give them both a very warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Well, it's quite a thing to follow, I think, from that last talk, but we'll see where we can go. We don't have all the answers, but what we do want is to make you think. So we're all here to tell stories. And culture is built on stories and memories. So I'd like you, first of all, just to cast your mind back to your childhood. What do you remember doing with your parents? In fact, it's already been remembered, one of the things, children on their parents' shoulders. So what do you remember doing with your parents? What birds do you remember hearing? I bet you all remember hearing a cuckoo, but can you remember when you last heard a cuckoo? So things are changing in nature. And I think we have to remember, we have to think about what we want to share with our own grandchildren and our own children. And will that just be stories, or will that be shared memories with what we're losing? Culture is about recording our history in stories and creating memories so that we've got something to pass on to the next generation. It's also about bringing everybody in to enjoy what's around us, and actually get that benefit and preserve what's around us to pass on. So, what has nature done for us? And what can nature, well, what have we done to nature? Let's see where it takes us. I think we all assume that we've got a right to clean air, clean water, and healthy food. This is just a good example. Trees are our lungs. They're the planet's lungs. They're the best we can do to help lock up carbon. They give us our oxygen. They provide really evocative settings, and they create some magnificent sculptures. Again, we'll all remember walking through the woods in the sunset, or letting it come through to us. And they also provide the most amazing natural habitats for what we need around us. But we give them a lot to do. Now this should actually play, but I'm told it's
not going to play, is it?
No. So Chris, over to you.
When was the last time you thought about taking a drink from a stream or a river? Something that's been taken for granted for tens of thousands of years of our history. When would you now walk to your local stream with a cup and take a drink? Let's look at what we're doing to our local rivers and streams. Not great. Don't fancy a drink from that.
So, healthy food comes from healthy soil. Animals are part of our culture. They're part of our environment, part of our natural environment. And we can produce really good, nutrient-rich, healthy food from the environment that we live in. Around Stroud, we've got some of the most important grassland habitats that you could wish for. We've got Rodborough and Minchinhampton, Selsley, Stinchcombe, Painswick Beacon. They're all nationally and internationally important grasslands, and we manage them with livestock. And it's worth keeping in mind that these areas, with the topography we've got and with the livestock around, that's what we've created, that cultural beauty that's around us. But again, for ease of use and speed, we tend to do that. This kills our soils. Soils are what sustain us, and they're what sustain our food, and they're what sustain the environment. Healthy soils with an active and healthy microbiome provide our natural sponges. So that reduces our flooding and it holds water. But we are limiting the ability for it to do that.
So what's our provocation? For thousands of years, we've used culture to examine and reflect on the human experience and tell the human story. And we've told stories about how we seek power, seek love, we seek revenge for betrayals, but with some notable exceptions, and we're talking primarily about the last few hundred years, we think we've forgotten about the stage on which this kind of human drama is acted out. We've taken for granted the air, the water, the soils. The animals and plants are like bit part players. They're just extras. We wheel in and wheel off when we fancy a change of scene. And we've primarily developed this fact-based relationship with the natural world. So we think about it through the lens of science and numbers, or we think about it in a kind of utilitarian way. We treat our natural world like a factory or a supermarket or a toilet or a rubbish dump. And we've forgotten that we can use culture and stories to tell different things about our natural world. So indigenous cultures tell stories that I think we're too afraid to tell, about the perils of greed, about taking too much, and about not sharing. So I think the way we've described our provocation is slightly too polite. The predicament we find ourselves in today isn't just a political and a social or an economic failure. I think our provocation is that it's also a cultural failure. We're not telling the right stories. We've failed to create that relationship between ourselves and nature, and we've forgotten how to make that work.
Thank you very much.